Merry readers, come cozy in. Let the story time begin with Robin and the Marys.
Hi Merry Readers! Today is October 1st, and that means it's time for Chapter 12 of A Discovery of Witches in my real-time reread video series. I'm so excited to get into this chapter, and just like my others, I have a little summary that I wrote up that I will read to you, and then I have some questions that I have thought about as I read through the chapter that I will give you my answers to, and then a discussion question at the end, just to have a little bit of a discussion in the comments below. So please follow along. If you have not read this chapter yet, please feel free to stop the video here, go back and read chapter 12, and then come back to have a discussion. There will be spoilers throughout this video. Okay, let's get into it. So, chapter 12. Diana decides that if she's going to invite a vampire to dinner, she's going to need to do it properly. At the library, she researches what wolves, specifically gray wolves, eat, and with the help of the zoology department, she learns that it is not just meat, but they also eat nuts, seeds, and berries, and fish are all part of their diet. Armed with this knowledge, she heads out shopping. She picks up raw venison, rabbit, Scottish salmon, black currants, wild strawberries, and chestnuts, and some very expensive old wine. She transforms her flat into something elegant, borrowing linens from the college kitchen staff and setting an Edwardian table set with white cloths and fine dishes. She ties her hair up in a knot, slips into a midnight blue outfit, and steels herself for what's to come. She's feeling rather nervous at this point. Matthew arrives, dressed head to toe in black, carrying roses. Diana nervously offers him an invitation in, thinking vampires need one to enter. Matthew corrects her, saying no, they don't, but it is courteous never to cross the threshold without being invited. A subtle telling exchange. They begin with wine and salmon. Diana was careful to keep everything pretty much raw this evening. Matthew explaining that vampires taste the origins of what they eat, the animal, the land, even the preparation. He notes that being around someone while they eat is easier since it dulls his own hunger, as he finds it to be rather disgusting to be around them and it gives him a nauseous feeling. So it's easier to focus on the person he's with because he's not craving them while they're talking. He dismantles Diana's preconceived notions. Yes, they drink blood, but food and wine matter too, just as humans drink water, but it isn't all they consume. He explains that most of what humans know about vampires, garlic, invitations, rules, are really human stories invented for humans' comfort. The course unfolds in a very specific way that Diana planned out. White German wine with Scottish salmon, venison with beets and shaved Parmesan cheese for their next course, paired with red wine, and Matthew enjoys telling Diana where the animal came from, where the wine came from, what the grapes were picked. He's able to taste all of this as they go through it. He shares an anecdote about tasting chocolate for the first time in 1615 when the French king married a Spanish princess who introduced cacao to Paris. Back then it was bitter with no sugar, and Diana jokes she's glad sugar was added, and Matthew admits that vampires prefer it darker and stronger. Their final course was rabbit with chestnut biscuits, rosemary, and pepper. Diana adjusts the preparation for herself at this point, undercooking Matthew's portion, but cooking hers more and omitting the garlic altogether, as she realizes that garlic is a very strong flavor and it might take away from Matthew's experience, and Diana really did not enjoy the raw venison, so she needs something cooked a little bit better for herself at this point. And then they end the evening with a dessert of berries, cheese, and roasted chestnuts. The conversation turns intimate. Diana asks what she smells like to him. Matthew replies willow, sap, chamomile, honeysuckle, fallen leaves, witch hazel, the first hints of spring, horehound, frankincense, lady's mantle, which are scents that he thought he'd forgotten. When he asks her what he smells like, she says cinnamon, cloves, and carnations, not like ones that are in flower shops, but like the ones in old English gardens. At this point, Matthew is excited and he brings out an ancient wine he's kept just for special occasions. He's kept for a very long time, since 1811, and he comments that there was a comet that year, and the liquid is golden, syrupy, and tasting of apricots, vanilla, caramel, and berries. It's like drinking magic, Diana says, and she is awestruck that she can taste all of these fine details in the wine. She's never had something quite this old. After Diana then asks him how old he is, because she has already heard about when his house has been built and that he was around in 1811 for this wine, she's very curious about how old he is, and Matthew admits he was born around the time of Clovis's conversion to Christianity and turned 37 in 1537. And he says that his body is still about 37 years old physically. Diana asks about 1859, echoing Knox's warning, and Matthew Matthew admits he was at the Ashmolean pursuing the Ashmole 782, although he didn't know at that time that's exactly what he was looking for. After Darwin published Origin of Species, he saw Darwin's theory as a mirror of alchemy, transmutation, origin sources, origins evolving into new forms. He connected that with stories of manuscript explaining the origins of witches, vampires, and demons. The two then compare notes on theories. Demons, as Diana had heard from both demons and witches over the past week about their ideas of the importance of Ashmole 782, that demons believe it's about their own purpose and why they were made. Witches think it's the first grimoire, and Matthew shares that vampires fear it could reveal they were created by magic and actually have a spell for their undoing. For Matthew, the parallels with the Philosopher's Stone are too clear to ignore. Finally, Diana shares what she saw in Ashmole 782, palimpsest alchemy book, riddled with deliberate errors, its hidden words cloaked by magic. Matthew agrees it's safer hidden for now, but insists the time will come soon when they'll need it, and offers to show her something in his lab tomorrow. As Matthew prepares to leave, he notices Diana's door doesn't close properly and warns her to fix it. He thanks her for dinner. In a moment of boldness, Diana rises on tiptoes and kisses him. Embarrassment immediately fills her, and she pulls back, only for Matthew to lean down and kiss her as well. It's their first kiss. The chapter ends with warm roses and the unspoken realization that they have absolutely crossed a line. So the different settings we have for this chapter, it's Diana's apartment, mostly at the dinner table, and then moving to the couch for after dinner drinks. And then we have a little bit at the beginning of the chapter of her in the library and her going into town to shop for the wine and the food. Characters, it's just Diana and Matthew this chapter. We do talk to a man who sells her the wine and things like that, but no distinct characters. Historical and academic Easter eggs, we have 1615, chocolate arrives in France via a royal marriage. This is true. We have Darwin's Origin of Species, which was written in 1859, linked to alchemical theories of transmutation. We have the Comet vintage wine, which is a legendary real-world line. Magic watch, the palimpsest manuscript cloaked in enchantment, Diana realizing how much magic hides in plain sight. The mood and tone, it's intimate, elegant, sensual, scholarly. Dinner is more of a ritual. History is seduction, and science is foreplay throughout this chapter. Even though they're talking about their own findings, it feels incredibly intimate, this chapter. Symbols and details for this, we have food and wine, we have scent descriptions, we have the specialty of old wine versus newer wine, raw food versus cooked food, and then of course the kiss at the end. So for Romance Watch, we have their first kiss, and it's incredibly intimate, just to follow up what was a very intimate dinner already. Vulnerability shared across their food, and secrets. This is truly a turning point for them, because everything for them is out on the table now about their pasts, and they're just answering questions without hesitation at this point. Food and drink, we've really gone into this already in the summary, but there's so much food description in this chapter. It's just so beautifully described. Even though it's all raw and I'm a vegetarian, I still found myself thinking about how delicious this meal must have been. So the overall vibe and chapter strength, this is one of the most iconic chapters in the book. It's just pure academic seduction, intimacy, and romance becoming undeniable. And really just the amount of detail that Deborah Harkness puts in this from real life scholarly works that she ties into this fantastical world is just incredible. Foreshadowing, we have Matthew's birth, turning dates, root him in centuries of history. Diana finds out that he's 1500 years old, which means he really has seen so much, so there's definitely going to be some more there. Darwin and Ashmole's connection, as well as to the Philosopher's Stone, which I think is just such an interesting parallel. The kiss cements that this is no longer just protection or research. They really have feelings for each other. And then, so for the discussion question for this chapter, chapter 12 really lays out three competing theories of Ashmole 782. Witches claim it's the first grimoire, demons say it reveals their purpose, and vampires suspect it hides the secret of their making. Which interpretation do you connect most with or find most convincing, and what does it reveal about each group's deepest anxieties? So I'd really love to talk about this a bit more, and I will see you tomorrow for chapter 13. Thank you. Bye.
So many readers, close your eyes. Let the stories lift and rise. Till next time, when lights will gleam.